In the first part of the video, we learned just how hard Robert Redford's life was. Now in this video, let's explore his teenage and married life. But before we start, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and tap the bell button so you won't miss any of our videos. Robert Redford's teenage years weren't easy either. He grew up in Southern California, a place where racism and racial tensions were quite common. This environment led to conflicts and violence involving gangs, and Redford was often a target of bullying and aggression from gang members. Despite his future fame and success, Redford was quite rebellious as a teenager. He lived in Van Nuys, a neighborhood where he got into trouble and was part of a street gang. During this time, he participated in dangerous activities. One particular situation involved a teenager named Felix, who targeted Redford. This hostility was likely driven by jealousy since Redford went to a good school, was successful in track, and was popular with girls. Felix's resentment and envy resulted in a risky dare that almost ended Redford's life. The bullying he faced grew more severe, pushing him to become tougher quickly to survive. In one particularly risky dare, the bullies forced him onto a rooftop. Eager to show his bravery, Redford took on the dangerous challenge of jumping off the roof. The jump nearly cost him his life. These early experiences with fear taught Redford an important lesson. You either face your fears or let them control you. This stark choice became a guiding principle in his life. Redford's daring rooftop leap earned him respect among his peers, but even after narrowly escaping serious injury, he continued to engage in risky behavior, including stealing alcohol from local stores. In the following years, his rebellious nature took on new forms. He experimented with hashish and marijuana and got involved in illegal drag racing in Santa Barbara. During one of these races, he was in a high-speed crash at 90 miles per hour, which almost cost him his life. His rebellious phase continued until he was 16 when he faced legal trouble and was arrested for having stolen jewelry. This incident marked the end of his criminal activities. He then left college behind. As he moved past his earlier troubles, he didn't immediately choose a traditional path. After finishing Van Nuys High School in 1954 with impressive grades and athletic success, he got a sports scholarship to the University of Colorado. Even though he was initially drawn to the university's baseball team, he quickly shifted his focus to studying art, abandoning his plans for sports. Feeling isolated, he connected with a senior from the Kappa Sigma fraternity, which helped him break out of his shell and increase his creative efforts. However, this connection also led to problems. He quickly drank heavily, pulled pranks, and prioritized drag racing and motorcycle riding over his studies. Even though he became well known in these circles, his unpredictable behavior made people see him as unreliable. In the end, Redford's time in college was cut short. After his mother passed away when he was 18, he started drinking more, which led to him losing his baseball scholarship. Without the scholarship, he couldn't afford to stay at the University of Colorado and left after just 18 months. This marked a turning point in Redford's life. Although he didn't finish his college education there, he continued learning in other ways. He went to Florence and Paris to study painting and later attended the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York. However, when it comes to relationships, for many years, Redford had one of Hollywood's longest-lasting marriages. He married Lola Van Wagenen in 1958, before he became famous. At that time, Redford had already lost his baseball scholarship. Afterward, he enrolled in the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, where he discovered his passion for acting. In 1957, he met and fell in love with Lola, a historian from Los Angeles who was a Mormon. They eloped to Las Vegas and soon had their first child, Scott. The family moved into a Manhattan apartment while Redford studied at Pratt Institute and made his Broadway debut. By 1959, the Redfords had started a family of 3 children. Tragically, their firstborn, Scott, died from sudden infant death syndrome at just 10 weeks old. This loss was devastating for Robert and Lola. They faced this tragedy in New York while struggling financially, which made the situation even harder. Reflecting on this later, Redford described it as extremely challenging due to their young age, financial difficulties, and his early, low-paying theater career. The lack of knowledge about sudden infant death syndrome led Robert and Lola to feel a deep sense of self-blame. Rather than talking about it publicly, Redford focused on supporting research to understand SIDS better, hoping to contribute to solving this tragic issue. Despite their challenging start, Redford's marriage to Lola lasted nearly 30 years. The couple separated in 1985, and it took Redford 16 years to discuss their split publicly. In 2001, he revealed that their divorce was friendly and agreed upon by both, and it felt like the right decision. Despite the separation, Redford spoke highly of their love, care, and friendship. He felt proud of how they raised their children well. After the divorce, he went through a period of uncertainty, including unsuccessful relationships with Sonia Braga and Kathy O'Rear. However, he found a lasting connection with artist Sybil Zaggers in 1996, and they were together for over 10 years. Redford and Zaggers married in 2009. 3 years after the tragic loss of their first son, Scott, Redford and Lola faced another tough situation with the early birth of their second son, James. Born 7 weeks early, and with respiratory issues, James's life was at risk. On top of that, Lola's health was also in danger. James was diagnosed with hyaline membrane disease. Given only a 40% chance of survival, James and Lola overcame the odds. However, James's health struggles continued into his teenage years. He developed ulcerative colitis, a chronic condition causing inflammation and problems with his colon. These complications eventually led to cirrhosis of the liver, and at the age of 31, James needed a liver transplant. Along with having his colon removed, he had to undergo this major surgery. Even though they were initially hopeful, James faced ongoing health problems after his first transplant and needed another one. While working, Redford flew to Omaha every weekend to support James in the hospital. Despite the tough journey, James eventually recovered from the second transplant and continued a successful career as a filmmaker and producer for the next 30 years. Sadly, he passed away from liver cancer in October 2020. Redford and his family kept a low profile during this tough time. Their publicist described the family's sorrow and praised James as a devoted son, husband, and father. James's legacy lives on through his children, his work in film, and his dedication to environmental conservation. Redford's misfortune didn't end there. His daughter, Shauna, faced tragedy early in her life. Born in 1961, Shauna grew up with a passion for art. However, her life took a dark turn in the early 1980s when her college boyfriend, Sid Wells, was murdered. Wells, a journalism student at the University of Colorado, had rented a room to Thane Alan Smika. In January 1983, Sid was found dead from a gunshot wound to the head. The primary suspect was Smika. Though the police had their suspicions about Smika, there was not enough evidence to charge him, leading to his release. He disappeared in 1986, and the case remains unsolved. In 2010, new forensic evidence led to a warrant for Smika's arrest, but despite attempts to find him, he remains missing. Just 8 months after Wells's death, Shauna faced her life-threatening ordeal. She lost control while driving her Ford Bronco near Salt Lake City and plunged into the freezing river. A resident witnessed the accident and bravely jumped into the icy water to rescue Shauna. In a 1998 interview with People magazine, Redford had already shared his family's difficulties. Despite his rising fame, he expressed how hard it was to see his children suffer. Redford's rise to fame began in 1967 with Barefoot in the Park, where he starred with Jane Fonda. Despite her strong feelings for him, their relationship stayed strictly friendly. Fonda admired Redford's talent. A major turning point in Redford's career was Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, where he starred alongside Paul Newman. The studio originally wanted big names like Marlon Brando and Warren Beatty, but Newman pushed for Redford, leading to an outstanding partnership. Their chemistry helped the film earn $80 million at the box office. This began a lasting friendship between Newman and Redford, until Newman died in 2008. Beyond their work together on screen, Paul Newman was a strong source of support for Redford, especially during the difficult time of his divorce from Lola. Their friendship was marked by playful and humorous exchanges. For Newman's 50th birthday, Redford gave him a dented, engineless Porsche as a joke. Newman crushed the car and returned it to Redford, who then turned it into a garden sculpture and delivered it back to Newman. For Redford, Newman was a true friend. Despite the admiration he received for his looks, Redford felt the constant focus on his appearance was a burden. He was even passed over for a role in The Graduate because he was perceived as too attractive and lacking real-life romantic struggles. Redford wished to be recognized for his acting skills rather than his physical appearance, as his true passion was the craft of acting. By the time he reached his later years, Redford had amassed a fortune of £150 million from major films like The Way We Were, Indecent Proposal, and All the President's Men. Robert Redford, now a grandfather of 7, resides with his second wife, Sybil Zaggers, on a vast 6,000-acre ranch in Utah. Even with his Hollywood fame, Redford prefers modest, private celebrations and finds peace in the serene beauty of his land. As he grows older, he appreciates being acknowledged for his acting talent rather than his looks. His family usually meets at the ranch for a low-key gathering for his birthdays. And that's the life of Robert Redford. He is a living testament that you will survive whatever challenges life throws at you. If you enjoy this video, please subscribe to the channel and click the notification button to stay updated on the latest videos.